Hello YouTube, CivilianSnowman here and welcome to the new Cigarette Burns review, in which I will be talking about the third and final chapter of Park Chan-Wook's Vengeance trilogy, and that is Lady Vengeance. The plot follows a woman called Lee Gwem-ja, who is imprisoned for 13 years for the kidnap and murder of a little boy, and upon her release she decides to get in touch with the girls that she met in prison and then get revenge on the guy who's responsible for her imprisonment. So that's basically all I can really say about the plot without getting into big spoilers. This film is another really original take on the whole theme of vengeance by Park Chan-Wook, and it's what we've come to expect from him through Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Oldboy. You know, we know that this guy's going to take an approach that we haven't seen before, and this one is fresh again. It's not like Oldboy or Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, it's really its own animal, so it's unlike anything that you've seen before. I will say that I thought Lady Vengeance had a slow start compared to the other two movies. It didn't kind of slap you in the face quite as quickly as they did. It has more of a build to it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you've become accustomed to the director's kind of pacing, a slower film grates a little. I'm not going to mark it down for that reason though, because it's him doing something different again. So once I got used to the new pace, I really got into the movie. One thing I did notice about this film, and this is obviously a deliberate choice by Park Chan-Wook, is that it's a lot funnier than the other two. There are some really laugh out loud moments in this movie, and I won't spoil any of them for you, but most of them happen in the first two acts, and it's just stuff to, you know, kind of make you giggle, and it's really kind of refreshing after having, now I'm not saying Sympathy and Oldboy didn't have elements of humour in them, but this is actually borderline comedy at some point, and it's kind of refreshing to have that in a film that could have quite easily been as dark and as gritty, which it is, don't get me wrong, but as the other two, but to have injections of genuine humour, it really kind of breaks it up and makes it a little bit of an easier watch. Park Chan-Wook's direction in Lady Vengeance remains brilliant. He kind of sticks to a similar style of cinematography, etc., that he used in Sympathy and Oldboy, but like I said, injects humour and kind of alters the pace and makes it a bit slower, like I said. But one of the things that, well, there's a couple of things that he does really, really well in this movie that I wanted to talk about is, one, he has Gwem-ja, once she's released from prison, there are flashbacks to the other female inmates that she encountered, with like the subtitles of the dates that they served, so you can kind of get a grasp on what point in her sentence she encountered these people, and it's kind of a really interesting way, and it keeps you involved as the audience to keep skipping back and showing you these relationships so that you know when she meets these people in present day who they are. And I know it sounds like it could be a pretty bog standard flashback, but he does it with kind of a stylistic edge, and I think that it's him trying something a little more different, a little bit more kinetic than the other two movies. The strongest point of his direction in the version of the film that I saw is the colour coding, because I actually watched the film on Blu-ray. This is the Lady Vengeance Director's Cut Blu-ray, where over the course of the film, which is about 2 hours long, the colour slowly fades to black and white, and I think that this is a technique that it could have been gimmicky, but he really uses it to help tell the story and to help convey emotion, especially in the third act, which I'll get onto in a minute. But I thought the colour saturation over the course of the movie was a really nice touch, and shows that Park Chan-Wook really does have an eye for striking visuals. That brings me on to what I really want to say about the film, and that is the third act. Now, basically, the first two acts are good. They are good than better than most Hollywood movies, but in comparison to Park Chan-Wook's other work, they don't deliver the punch that the other two films do, but in the third act he rectifies that with a sequence that is so distressing and heartbreaking yet exhilarating at the same time. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it really doesn't just deal with the theme of vengeance, but really, more to the point, deals with the theme of justice, and like where does the line between vengeance and justice blur? And I have to say that it's one of the most distressing things I've ever seen and brought me to tears. I'm not going to lie to you guys, watching this movie, actually the third act brought me to tears. And it's a scene where, now if you don't want any spoilers, I suggest you switch off, but I'm going to try and avoid telling you the big spoilers. Basically, you see videotapes of children being killed, right? And that is not what got to me at all. What got to me was the reaction of the parents watching the videos. They're all, I think, unknown Korean actors. I didn't recognise any of them, but every single last one of them is so brilliant, and the reactions feel so organic and real. It's unbelievable. Like, one of the fathers knows that the video with his kid on it is coming up, and he's like drinking and shaking and stuff, and it's so subtle, his performance, and then when he sees his kid, he just breaks down completely. It's really genuinely heartbreaking, and I don't want to tell you why they're there, who brought them there, who was responsible. I won't tell you any of that stuff. I don't want to spoil the twists and turns of the movie, but I had to talk about that scene because what happens after that, the choice that those people are faced with after seeing their children killed, is just such a difficult choice for anybody to make, and it really does handle the theme of justice in a way that I've never seen done before, in the most realistic and organic way, and it really does turn out the way you would expect it to. I say the way you would expect it to in real life. Not in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you wouldn't expect it to go that way. You know, they wouldn't go as dark with it. But in real life, you know, people react in different ways, and I honestly think that the way that these people react is very realistic. I thought the girl who plays Gwen Jar, her performance was really quite impressive. She has kind of a detached vulnerability, especially when we get to the midpoint in the film and we have a little bit of a twist. An English speaking scene comes along, which gives her character kind of more motivation and stuff like that. I won't go into it, don't want to spoil it, but she does really well with it. And I just think that as an actress, she's really quite impressive and really manages to convey what she's feeling towards the person who was responsible for her imprisonment. So all in all, I think Lady Vengeance is a really terrific film. Yes, the first two acts are unlike anything I've seen Park Chan-Wook do before, but once you get past those, whether you like them or not, you get to the third act, it'll tear you apart inside, or at least it should. And the way it deals with vengeance and justice, like I said, is really creative, inventive, and stuff like I've never seen before. So I highly recommend this film. Obviously, if you've seen the other two chapters in the Vengeance trilogy, you have no excuse not to see this one. If you have the means and the opportunity, I suggest you get the Blu-ray and watch the faded black and white version, because it really does add some character to the movie. So for a rating, I will give it 4 stars. Now, when I was watching it and I got about halfway through, I was thinking it was a 3-star movie, but that third act really built it up for me. Now, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did Old Boy and Sympathy, but it is kind of, from a filmmaking standpoint and from what it's accomplishing, it is as good as those movies. I just personally prefer the others, but I'm going to give it 4 stars, and I highly recommend you pick it up because the third act is just astonishing. Well, thanks for watching these videos. I hope you've enjoyed the reviews of the Vengeance trilogy so far, and thanks for commenting, subscribing, all that stuff. So this is CivilianSnowman signing out. I'll see you later. Bye.